Hello there, I'm Black Bright News, and I just wanted to follow up on my video that I did earlier on Transmeritorium on citizenship ceremonies. And, it suddenly occurred to me that people might think that, wonder how this is going to impact those who are close to the ceremony, who won't become citizens. Will they be booted out? What will happen to their legal status? What happens if you're on a temporary visa? Stuff like that. So this video is to cover those kind of questions, because the first video was just letting people know what the ceremony, the citizenship ceremony, was all about. Okay, so I'm going to read from my carefully crafted notes. You know I'm a writer, so I love to write. So yes, let me read them for you, and I'm going to create a scenario. Imagine waiting your whole life for a moment that defines who you are, a moment that finally lets you belong. You've done everything right, studied, applied, passed your exams, paid for your fees, hundreds of dollars, over $700. In the UK, it's about just over 500. I think it's about £540. And then it stops, not because of you, but because the government says wait, and wait indefinitely. Many might become concerned about their legal status during the pause. However, as long as you are already living legally in the US, you stay legal even if your citizenship ceremony is paused, which means you can continue working in the US. You can still be sponsored according to the rules for your status. The only ones who might be at risk are those on temporary visas and other visas unrelated to citizenship, but I'll talk about that later. Applicants for citizenship are already lawful residents, usually under permanent residency, the green card. Asylum or refugee status, certain visas that allow naturalization later, special programs, military service, etc. Let me drink some water because my throat. So their current immigration status remains valid unless it expires for unrelated reasons. So remember, the pause does not strip them of legality. So there may be dodgy attorneys out there, because when people are vulnerable, they're vulnerable to exploitation as well. And there might be some dodgy so-called lawyers who are saying, oh look, I can get you stabilised, don't worry. Don't worry, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, just be careful that you're not going to get desperate and use a lawyer when you don't need one. So I've got that out of the way. Where am I? I've lost my place. Okay, I found it. So to reassure you, the pause in citizenship ceremonies does not retroactively affect you or legal rights or privileges as a resident, and the government cannot make legal residence illegal just by pausing ceremonies. The government would need a legal cause, a separate procedure and due process to remove someone's lawful status. A blanket pause does not do that. The group affected by the pause remains in their previous category, is usually a lawful permanent resident. Nothing changes except that they cannot finish naturalisation for now. Only one group is at risk: people whose current visas are expiring for unrelated reasons. What do I mean by unrelated reasons? Well, some applicants are on a temporary visa, work, student, or other non-permanent visas rather than green cards. Their legal status depends on the expiration date on their visa, not their citizenship application. If their visa expires while the citizenship process is delayed, they could fall out of status. But that's because the visa itself ran out, not because of the ceremony pause. And that's what unrelated reasons mean the risk is unrelated to the citizenship process. It is tied to visa expiration, employment changes, or other immigration requirements. So, how to stay safe? Temporary visa holders need to renew or extend their visas to maintain lawful status. I think they know that. Green card holders are generally safe unless their card is expiring, in which case they should renew it. But this is where it gets tricky. If someone is applying for citizenship without a green card, rare but possible under some military or derivative categories, or if their immigration status is expiring for unrelated reasons and the government won't process anything, they could fall out of legal status because of the expiry, once again, not the moratorium. But this would affect very few applicants. Almost all naturalisation applicants are green card holders, and green cards do not expire overnight. Thousands of lawful residents in the US are trapped in this limbo. They are allowed to live here, fully legal, as long as their green card, visa or current status is valid. They remain protected under US law, but they cannot vote, they cannot get passports, they cannot sponsor their families, they cannot complete the one step that turns years of hard work into citizenship. The psychological toll is heavy. Anxiety, fear, uncertainty, every news report, every policy change, every delay becomes a personal earthquake. Families, careers, even identities are caught in this waiting room with no doors. And the money, most have paid $710 to $760 US, which is non-refundable. For many, staying legal during the pause may involve standard administrative steps, renewing an expiring green card, filing paperwork, keeping visas current, but these are normal requirements for lawful residents. They are not being penalised for the pause itself. Some turn to lawyers, advocacy groups, faith, or sheer resilience. They remind themselves they belong in spirit even if the law has paused recognition. But until the ceremony, until the oath, they live between two worlds, legal yet unrecognised, present yet waiting, invested yet unsure if their investment will ever pay off. And let's not forget the broader community. These are people contributing to society, paying taxes, enriching their neighbourhoods, yet because of a pause they cannot control, they are trapped in a second-class existence. Lawfully present, yet blocked from full participation. The emotional weight of waiting, of feeling rejected, for no fault of their own, ripples through families, workplaces and communities. However, in summary, the moratorium does not make legal residents illegal. They remain lawful residents until they take the oath. What the pause does is block the final step, trap people in permanent resident status, delay their rights, voting, passport, etc., frustrate and disadvantage them. But it does not criminalise them or turn them into undocumented immigrants. The citizenship process does not replace their existing legal status until the oath is taken. Many people think applying for citizenship upgrades your status. It doesn't. The steps work like this. You're a legal resident, i.e. a green card holder. You apply for naturalisation, you wait, you take the oath, and then you become a US citizen. That bit, then you become a US citizen, is what's been taken out of the equation for now. And so I can understand for those people who were planning to bring family over or planning, I'm not quite sure. Well, I guess if you want to vote, that's important. But it could be a lot worse, let me put it that way. But for those of people who are banking on citizenship, it is a big kick back, and our sympathy goes out to them, and we have to empathise with them. But yes, so I hope that I've kind of shared what I know and helped you to understand what it means. So when you see it in the headlines, you're not like, what's he talking about, or what's she talking about? Okay, and that's all for now. I'll speak to you.